Once, there lived a girl named Karen, born into a life of hardship, soot-smudged hands, frostbitten fingers, and stomach pangs that hummed lullabies in place of song. Her mother, gaunt and quiet, worked her knuckles raw scrubbing linens for a copper a day. She'd hum lullabies to distract Karen from the ache of hunger and stitch little cloth dolls from scraps of worn fabric, whispering, "We are not rich, my girl, but we are whole." Their tiny cottage barely held heat in the winter, and Karen's feet often bled from walking barefoot over frozen cobblestones. One bitter evening, her mother stitched her a pair of shoes from a stained curtain, patched and fraying, but warm. Karen wore them until the fabric fell away and her toes peeked through. Then the fever came. Her mother died with Karen's name on cracked lips. One calloused hand curled around Karen's as if she could shield her from the cold that would follow. Karen remembered the cold more than the hunger, and she remembered the loneliness. When the widow came to take her in, the townsfolk whispered in awe. The woman was wealthy, a merchant's widow with a grand manor and no child of her own. She had noticed Karen outside the chapel, hands folded in prayer. Her eyes closed tight, even as snow settled in her lashes. "A sign," the widow declared. Karen was bathed, scrubbed until her skin burned pink, dressed in velvet and lace. The widow called her "my dear girl" and tucked her into a bed lined with goose feathers beneath ceilings that scraped the sky. At first, Karen cried in secret. She missed the wind between her toes and her mother's humming. But the widow was kind, and Karen tried to be good. She prayed each night beside a faded portrait of her mother, whispering promises to stay grateful. And for a time, she was. Until the shoes. They were not simple cloth or polished brown leather. These were red. A wicked gleaming red, lacquered leather that caught candlelight and threw it back like flame. The shoemaker had displayed them in a shop window, nestled between ordinary boots and slippers. Karen's breath caught when she saw them. The widow saw her wonder and bought them without question. "They aren't suitable for church," said the priest with a frown. But the widow only laughed. Pretty things deserve to be worn. Karen wore them to the next service, then to supper, then to walks through the garden. She spun in them, watched the sunlight ripple across their surface. In every mirror, she began to see herself differently. Her hair glossier, her step more elegant. She matched them with red lipstick, red gloss, crimson rouge, until her cheeks bloomed like blood roses. She tied red ribbons through her curls, painted her nails a shade called garnet scream. Even her perfume, floral and heady, came in a ruby bottle that she clutched like a talisman. The color followed her, coated her. Red was no longer a color. It was a devotion. Soon, Karen's appetite grew with her vanity. She was always hungry, always craving. She devoured sugared cherries, pastries soaked in rose syrup, rare meat dripping scarlet juices. The servants whispered of how she would raid the pantry at night, her lips sticky with jam, her slippers padding silently across marble. She no longer visited the poor with the widow, no longer sent coins to the chapel. She scoffed at beggars, turned away from their dirt and need. Old friends who came to visit were left waiting at the gates, their letters left unopened. In the mirror, she saw only herself, beautiful, blooming and red. Then the dancing began. One night, her feet twitched beneath her silk sheets. A small shuffle, a tap. At first, she blamed dreams, but soon, she couldn't stop it. Her feet danced in the garden, twirling her through wet grass, her arms flailing for balance. They moved beneath her skirts in town, dragging her forward. She stumbled into fountains, through crowds. She laughed at first, breathless. But the laughter didn't last. The shoes danced her to blisters, to bleeding, to bone-deep exhaustion. She collapsed on the floor, nails clawing at the laces. They would not come off. She visited priests. They closed the doors on her. Doctors. One screamed as her feet danced beneath his hands. Whispers returned, this time darker. Of a shoemaker turned hermit, of shoes cursed by vanity, of red that fed on the wearer's hunger. She found the woman in a crooked house, deep in the woods. Red shoes hung from the trees like severed hearts. Inside, the old woman looked at Karen's feet and burst into tears. "You wear the last," she said. She spoke of a daughter who danced until her ribs broke, of a flower once used for dye, stolen from sacred ground, of a curse laid by something old. Each pair would crave and feed and punish. "They must be severed," the woman whispered. "Your feet. It's the only way to be free." Karen looked around the crumbling house, at the ashes of broken slippers, the red-stained walls. "Free?" she said softly. "Do you know how many eyes look at me now? How they adore me?" Her voice sharpened. "I won't give them up." She reached for a red-handled knife from the woman's workbench. The old woman backed away, trembling. "You'll ruin yourself," the woman wept. "The curse is waiting." Karen plunged the blade, once, again, until silence. The shoes pulsed. Warmth surged up her legs like molten honey. She smiled. Then she stopped. Her limbs locked mid-movement. Her smile froze. She tried to scream, but her lips would not move. Her eyes widened, and then hardened. Her skin shimmered like wet clay. Her arms froze in a dancer's pose. Her body turned to marble, laced with crimson veins that glowed faintly beneath the stone. She became a statue, forever beautiful, forever red. Days later, townsfolk found the shoemaker's hut burned to blackened bone. Among the ashes, they found her, flawless, immobile, eyes wide with silent horror. Her family wept. They tried to bring her home, but she would not budge, not even an inch. She was too heavy, dense as grief. So they took what they could. They severed her feet, still locked in the red shoes. They placed them on the mantle, as a warning. Some say the shoes twitch on stormy nights. Others say they dance by themselves when the moon is full. Children are warned never to wear red. And deep in the forest, the statue still stands, eyes forever open, as if waiting for someone else to wish for more. Thank you for joining us in the world of Twilight Fables. If you enjoyed this tale and want to hear more stories like this, please subscribe and hit the notification bell for more.